of history and diverse barriers faced by persons with disabilities. At that time, we recognized the importance of advancing in the design and implementation of laws and policies that promote the respect and protection of their human rights based on the provision of the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities and other international human rights treaties. There are 0.3 billion people with disabilities worldwide, representing 16% of the global population. Therefore, the practical impact to this mandate is incredibly important. In just 10 years, the mandate has played an important role in translating the obligation of the Convention into actionable recommendations at the regional and national levels. With its thematic reports, it has explored new topics and issues of concerns, such as the impacts of the pandemic, artificial intelligence, and armed conflicts on the rights of persons with disabilities. The mandate has also supported states' build capacities to fulfill their international obligation and has promoted more effective mainstreaming of disability inclusion in the multilateral work, particularly through the United Nations Disability Inclusion Strategy, UNDIS. I want to recognize the two former special rapporteurs, Catalina de Bandas and Gerard Quinn, for all their work leading the mandate. You helped pave the way, and today we thank you for that. Despite significant progress achieved so far, there are still many challenges for the enjoyment of rights of persons with disability and to promote an agenda focused on their effective inclusion, independence, autonomy, agency, participation, and leadership. In this regard, I want to welcome once again the new Special Rapporteur, Heba Hagras, with whom he looked forward to continuing working closely and collaboratively to address present and future challenges. We particularly appreciate the Special Rapporteur's commitment with promoting a gender perspective in all areas of her work and continue to foster the implementation of the UNDIS, as well as the dissemination of information in this regard, all crucial aspects of the work of the mandate. Thank you so much.
Thank you to Her Excellency, Ms. Francisco Escabor, for her insightful remarks. Moving forward, I'm pleased to give the floor to the Permanent Representative of Finland, Her Excellency Ms. Heidi Fox. Madam Representative, please share your perspectiveness.
Much, Mr. Moderator, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends. I would really like to start by celebrating the reason why we are here, the 10 years of this important mandate of Special Rapporteur on the rights of persons with disabilities. This mandate enjoys a very wide support across all regions, and the mandate holders are doing groundbreaking work in advancing the rights of persons with disabilities. The promotion of the rights and inclusion of persons with disabilities is a long-standing priority for my country, Finland, and we are proud supporters of the mandates since its establishment. And I would like to thank Mexico and New Zealand for all the excellent work they did in presenting the resolution to the Human Rights Council establishing this mandate a decade ago. The mandate has strengthened the promotion and protection of the rights of persons with disabilities and opened avenues to address a wide range of topics such as armed conflict, artificial intelligence, and mental health. And this work is strongly grounded on the human rights and to the Convention of Rights of Persons with Disabilities. I would like to congratulate the previous mandate holders, Ms. Catalina Devandas Aguiar and Mr. Gerald Quinn, for their excellent work. You have showed us how the rights of persons with disabilities and disability inclusion are relevant in many different sectors, whether related to human rights, humanitarian action, development, or peace and security. We also applaud your strong advocacy for the participation of persons with disabilities and their representative organizations. Finland is a strong supporter of the United Nations Disability Inclusion Strategy. The promising start of this work needs to be expanded, and we are glad to see that the Special Rapporteur will focus on this in her future work. We very much welcome you and look forward to working closely with you, Ms. Hagras, on the topics that you intend to raise in your upcoming work as climate change and digital transformation. Finally, I would like to emphasize that the UN has a large role to play in advancing the rights of persons with disabilities globally. We need to make sure that we only set the highest standards on inclusion of persons with disabilities across the UN. And this is exactly what this mandate has been doing already for a decade. I thank you all for being here today to celebrate and also to discuss how we can push forward and make a difference in the lives of persons with disabilities. Thank you.
Thank you, Her Excellency, Ms. Heidi Fox, for your valuable contribution. I would now like to invite the permanent representative of China, His Excellency, Mr. Chen Yu, I think, isn't it? Yes, to take the floor and share his insights.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. Dear Special Rapporteurs, fellow ambassadors, distinguished guests and friends, it gives me great pleasure to be part of this very unique event. While we are 2024, we are marking the 10th anniversary since the establishment of the mandate of the Special Rapporteur on the rights of persons with disabilities. We will soon witness the 20 years anniversary of the adoption of the CRPD. China highly commends Special Rapporteur's significant efforts and important contributions in upholding the rights and the dignity of persons with disabilities, and stands ready to work with you all to make more concrete progress in this respect. We need to become more inclusive, and human rights education and awareness raising campaigns are needed to increase the visibility of disability rights with a view to eliminate bias and discrimination. We will continue to speak up as we did last year in the Human Rights Council. We need to build more barrier-free and age-appropriate facilities and foster a caring environment by making our cities more accessible in terms of sound social security and a tiered assistance system, better rehabilitation services, and the long-term care insurance system, etc. We need to encourage participation, not only support and care, but motivation to be self-reliant for the persons with disabilities should be provided. We sincerely wish to see more participation in political, economic, social, and cultural affairs on an equal footing by persons with disabilities, so they can render their contribution to the realization of 2030 agenda and our shared future. There are currently more than 85 million persons with disabilities in China. As one of the earliest state parties to the CRPD, China introduced more than 90 laws in this regard, including the law on the construction of barrier-free environments. We set up a system of subsidies that covers more than 27 million persons with disabilities, and created beautiful crafts workshop to enhance employment of women with disabilities. In China's recent sessions of legislation bodies, documents aimed at safeguarding the rights and interests of persons with disabilities have been put out. And all these documents have Braille versions. Virtually impaired couples have been provided with Braille forms for marriage registration. Nonetheless, challenges remain in areas such as special education, integrated employment, and rehabilitation care. We will reinforce our efforts and further promote their rights and interests. Mr. Hegras highlighted climate change, digital transformation, family support, and care as her priority of the work. It is important reference and guidance for us all. China will continue to support work of the Special Rapporteur, as always, to scale up relevant cooperations with all stakeholders and make joint efforts for our common cause. Thank you very much for your attention.
To His Excellency, Mr. Chan Hu, I want to express my gratitude to all three ambassadors for their meaningful remarks and for taking the time to join our event today. Your contributions have set a construction tone for our discussions. Now, we'll move on to a unique and insightful panel, bringing together all three former and current special rapporteurs on the right of persons with disability. I have the honor to give the floor to my friend, Catalina Devandas. Catalina, could you please share your experience in setting up the mandate after its creation in 2014, and what you consider as a main and long-lasting achievement from your time as Special Rapporteur?
Thank you very much, Nawaf, and dear chair of the International Disability Alliance, and thanks to all the organizers and the sponsors of this event for the opportunity to have this reflection on the impact of the mandate and what we have achieved so far. As it was mentioned by the Ambassador of Mexico and by all the distinguished ambassadors, the creation of the mandate already had a significant impact. It pretended to avoid the protection gap. It came with the mandate of universality, protecting persons with disabilities beyond those countries that had ratified the convention or its optional protocol. It helped in the mainstreaming of the new human rights-based approach introduced by the convention within the special procedures system. So within all the other human rights experts that were barely working on disability. And I think that we can note after the creation of the mandate, how many of the special rapporteurs and other mandates have started to consider the rights of persons with disabilities into their work. It also brought the opportunity of having more in-depth interaction with the states through the country visits and through the communications, but the presence in the field for 2 weeks allowed a better conversation, a conversation that grew from capacity building and technical assistance. When I started the mandate and I had the great opportunity of, starting anew, creating something, setting something, the first thing that we knew was that states were very engaged and willing to implement the convention, but they needed to have more information on how to do it, how to change the paradigm that they had been using and to transform that paradigm in one that was based on human rights. So we started the mandate producing reports that were providing guidance to states on how to avoid violations. We work on social protection, support, participation, before we started saying, well, you have problems with institutionalization, deprivation of liberty, legal capacity. So first was the idea of this is how you should do it, and this is why you should not be doing these other things. It was mentioned, and I think it's important, we also work a lot with mainstream partners in creating, for instance, the guidelines or the international principles on access to justice for persons with disabilities. And that was a strong collaboration with other partners, of course, the Committee on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, the Special Envoy, but I think that that document, that it's been used widely by all the judicial systems around the world, was a very important contribution that was promoted from my mandate. And lastly, it was mentioned the UN Disability Inclusion Strategy. And I think that indeed, the voice of the mandate at that point was important. The UN needed to be the golden standard on the implementation of the convention. However, when I started the mandate and I started doing the country visit, I noticed that at country level, there was very little to no notion of what the convention meant. There was no accessible offices, not knowledge, or even a list of organizations of persons with disabilities that were working with the UN country teams. Not to mention, there was no accessible vehicle or not knowledge of how to hire a sign language interpreter to work. So my work started from the Office of the High Commissioner here, creating all those kind of networks to all the countries that we're visiting. And more, we discovered that the system, the UN in general, and across all their pillars, were not paying attention. Beyond what was happening here in Geneva with the committee, there was not enough understanding and information and commitment about how to engage. So we started calling for this UN system-wide approach that was cross-cutting across all pillars of the organization and that require a lot of leadership from the UN. We were lucky enough to have states supporting that idea and to have the UN Secretary General listening also to our claims at that moment. And it resulted in this process that we all know now as the UN Disability Inclusion Strategy that I hope and I believe is little by little bringing the change that we need to have about for the UN to be able to guide the states on the work that they do. Looking forward, and I am very glad to, and of course I want to recognize the fantastic work that the work that Gerard Quinn did as one of the main minds behind all the conceptual thinking on disability rights. And also I want to wish Heba all the best of the success. I'm pretty sure that she will made a fantastic work, and I'm looking forward to collaborating with you. Thank you very much, Nawaf.
Catalina, for your very interesting intervention and pioneering work and invaluable insights. Next, I would like to give the floor to another good friend, Gerard Quinn. Gerard, your tenure began in a very different context, right in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic. Could you highlight some of your work during this challenging time, and where do you believe it made an impact?
Thank you, Dr. Nawaf, and indeed, congratulations on becoming president of the International Disability Alliance. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it's a real pleasure and an honor to be with you, and particularly to follow in and fill the footsteps of Catalina, who did such a tremendous job in setting up the mandate. Just by way of explanation, my own personal approach is to view human rights not just as something that can help us conceptualize problems, deal with problems, but also provide ways out, provide solutions, provide a different kind of policy imagination to governments and a different way of doing things. And that's why we liked to focus on the contribution of disability rights as an added value to how we face humanity's common challenges. And that is to say, to prove the added value of disability rights, not just for the constituency of persons with disabilities, but for humanity as a whole. And that is why we chose such forward-looking areas like the balance of risks and opportunities faced by artificial intelligence for people with disabilities. And that's 2 years ago now. And that's why we focused on the transformation of the care environment throughout the world, the interface with the business and the human rights agenda, and its relevance for how we transform how we deliver services for people with disabilities and might I add, older people and others around the world as well. But let's face it, that most of the international law is now well settled. So whether it comes to refugees or indeed climate action or conflicts, the treaty regimes are already in place. So the $64 million question always is, what's the added value of the UN Disability Convention? How can it help nuance, influence, and nudge our understanding of these approaches to these common challenges that humanity faces? I take the view of the International Law Commission that we shouldn't be looking for the reflexive superiority of one treaty regime over another. Rather, we should be looking for the commonalities between these treaty regimes. Where is the unity of purpose? How may they sing better and dance better together in dealing with common challenges facing humanity? And that's why we focused on armed conflict. I was rather shocked 4 years ago to discover there were 16 hot conflicts still taking place around the world. It's now over 20, I believe, in full contravention of the EU Charter, which theoretically prohibits armed conflict. So that really shines a light on the Geneva Conventions, particularly the 4th Geneva Convention on Civilian Protection, and whether and to what extent it actually provides meaningful protections to people with disabilities caught up in armed conflict, and many, many of them are. That's why we did 3 reports focusing on that topic. The first one looked at how inclusive each point in the armed conflict agenda was, whether it's conflict prevention, conduct of hostilities, rescue, humanitarian intervention, and so forth. And unsurprisingly came to the conclusion it was largely non-inclusive of a disability perspective. Our second report focused more finely on the interface between international humanitarian law, which purports to protect civilians in armed conflict, with the UN CRPD, and made several recommendations for how the 1948 convention could be improved in terms of how it functioned in the context of armed conflict and disability. And I'm glad to say during that, we had extensive dialogue between military authorities and organizations of persons with disabilities around the world, with the active collaboration of the International Committee of the Red Cross, for which I'm extremely grateful. And our third and last report in the series was on the active moral agency of people with disabilities in rebuilding their own broken societies. That is to say, how included are they in the peace-building architecture of the United Nations? And it has to be said they're largely invisible in that infrastructure, which is not just bad for them in terms of non-sustainable outcomes, but it's also bad for the sustainability of peace-building processes throughout the world. I should add that we complemented Kata's work at the universal or general level by doing a lot of work regionally, particularly with the Arab region, with UNESCO out of Beirut, with the Indonesian Constitutional Court, with the Inter-American system, because this is where the multipliers actually exist, and I would encourage that work to continue. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, Jared, for your dedicated efforts under such unprecedented circumstances. Coming from Lebanon and the Arab world, I know how much we appreciate the work you've done on Article 11. And I have to add, it's of high importance today, given the level of violence and tragedies that we are facing for. Not only the problem of Gaza, also the earthquake that took place in Morocco and Syria, and the flood in Libya and all this stuff. It's highly demanded. Now I turn to Hiba Hagras, our current Special Rapporteur, who took office in November 2023. Hiba, we started together, by the way, disability movement in the Arab region, and we climbed together on the international level. Now I am the president of the International Disability Alliance, and she is the Special Rapporteur. We used to fight a lot. I hope we'll stop this now. Hiba, you have just presented your first report to the Human Rights Council, reflecting on the mandate's first decade and outlining your vision for the future. Given the experience of the past 10 years, what are your priorities for the mandate in the coming years? Where and how can the mandate make a significant difference?
And I would like to start with thanking my predecessors, Catalina de Vandes and Gerard Quinn, for their being here and giving us the opportunity to really celebrate together our 10th year anniversary for the mandate. Excellencies, colleagues, participants, and friends. The motto for my vision, as I wrote it in my report, was connecting to push forward. In doing so, and at the very beginning, I started to connect with my predecessors, the two special rapporteurs that came before me, to look at their work and see what they have done before I came and how to really complement and work with them closely so that we really have a continuity of the work they have provided and also to add to what they have done. I also started connecting with the UN organizations at different levels, and I met a number of them either here or at the New York level. Also to understand how they are working and how can we collaborate. Another connection that I'm supposed to make, and I really am part of it, is connecting with persons with disabilities. And as Dr. Nawaf said, now we all came from the grassroots level and we have all started in NGOs, organizations. So many people, even in this room, across the world that I know because they are working at the NGO level. And part of working with the NGO level is working with their alliances, their forums, and work at the regional level with these organizations. Another way to connect, and which is really very specific for the mandate, is being able to connect with states through our country visits and through the permanent missions that are available either here or in New York, which give us a special edge as the Special Rapporteur Office to really communicate and understand how we can really help countries and really give them assistance if they need professional help at the disability level. All this is actually, we are connecting to push forward. So the word two here is we need to tackle urgent issues. We need to tackle what really we see that is urgent to work with, like, for example, AI and how it will affect our lives and how we can really make it an asset and the revolution into our lives instead of having a new unbeatable obstacle from AI. We need to tackle climate change, war crises, humanitarian aid. We need to deal with all these changes urgently because we cannot act as a reaction, but we have to be proactive and take part of how we can really work as quickly as we can and get engaged and really make people believe that we are supposed to be included from day one in everything they are doing or they are supposed to do. To be ready on time and not to act late. To visit the countries that need our help and needs us to to really identify their problems and give them a good opportunity to join and never be behind left behind. Pushing forward is very important because the time is running out, time is quick, time has a very high speed now. Time 50 years ago was not running as fast as it's running now. So we have to be really careful to run with everybody in the team and not to be left behind. The speed of our engagement in all these issues and all other issues that I mentioned in my vision is very important. This is why I go back to the first word that I said, we need to connect and connect well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Hiba, for sharing your vision and priorities. I would like to express my appreciation to all our special rapporteurs for their reflections today. Let me say that the International Disability Alliance fully supports the mandate of the special rapporteurs and always work closely with them to make sure that we can come out with the best results. Now, there are lots of discussion now concerning developing some sort of a unit on disability. That's something that maybe we have to explore and to think about it, take into consideration the most important point, inclusivity of our work with all UN agencies. I now give the floor to Ms. Gertrude Ofario Fifomi. Is it right? Chair of the CRPD committee. Please take the floor.
Thank you, moderator. Excellencies, special rapporteurs present and previous, experts, all protocol observed. I bring you greetings from the CRPD committee. The CRPD committee was established in 2009 prior to the establishment of the mandate of the Special Rapporteur, and this was by the Human Rights Council. You may recall that by then, the Economic and Social Council Commission for Social Development had appointed a Special Rapporteur on Disability. Acknowledging the importance of the committee's interaction with the Special Rapporteur in 2011, the committee included in its method of work a provision that guided the committee to regularly interact with the Special Rapporteur and would invite him or her to address the committee at least once a year. The committee also established in its method of work a provision establishing an earlier awareness and urgent action procedures, which was later discontinued. When the council decided to establish the mandate of the Special Rapporteur as a practice, the committee and its bureau had continued interacting closely with every Special Rapporteur, formal and informal ways. And these include issuance of joint statements, joint letters addressed to member states, including regional organizations as well, and participating in joint activities, including side events taking place at the Conference of State Parties to the Convention. I want to sincerely thank Ms. Catalina de Vandals and Mr. Gerald Quinn for their constant engagement with the committee. And now, I wish to warmly welcome the new Special Rapporteur, Ms. Herbert Hargreaves, whom I'm looking forward for a very fruitful cooperation between the two mandates. Thank you once more.
Thank you very much. Now I'd like to give the floor to another friend and very hard worker on the UN system for disability, our friend Facundo. Facundo, take your floor, please. So he's from the OHCHR Disability Advisor.
Thank you, Nawaf, and thank you, colleagues. I think it looks like yesterday when we started to discuss about the creation of the mandate, and I was only 2 weeks in the office when Finland approached the office to request the support to start the conversation on how to move from the development-only perspective in the Commission of Social Development in New York to make this mandate a human rights mandate that would transform really the logic of the work of disability in the House. It's been a privilege to be working with Catalina, with Gerard, and I'm sure it will be also a privilege to work with Heba in the coming years. And we have so much to do still in this House to be really inclusive of persons with disabilities. Looking ahead, I think we had learned from Catalina and on the work that she did, both politically and technically, to set up the mandate, and in the continuity of Gerard and the work that he did on peace and security, that we need to work together, right? That is something that both member states, the UN system, mandate holders, we need to all work together for this agenda to continue to advance. And I think some of the priorities that Heba is putting on the table are the priorities that the disability movement has been putting forward for many, many years. And we very much look forward to see that the International Disability Alliance and other stakeholders will continue to support the work of the mandate. And of course, OHHR is there to work with them as well. As the only call I would say that we have is to move from the global establishment of the work on disability to the field. We need more support in countries, we need more support in regions for the realities of persons with disabilities to become a change, as Eleanor Roosevelt said, in those little places where human rights actually happen. And we very much look forward to this transformation. I think that the work that was done at global level cannot remain only there. And there are serious challenges on peace and security ahead of us. And hopefully this can be also a priority of the work of the mandate. And we are nothing but thankful for the work that all of you have done. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Now we have to start opening the floor for discussion. And the first one on my list is the representative of the ICRC. He has the floor.
Very much. The ICRC welcomes the mandate's focus to connect the rights of persons with disabilities to global challenges facing humanity, especially armed conflicts. And we had the honor of co-organizing the consultations, the regional consultations that Jared Quinn in his intervention mentioned, which connected persons with disabilities and military representatives on disability-specific risks from military operations in armed conflict. So persons with disabilities shared experiences of attacks, ill treatment, or inaccessible warnings, and armed forces were largely unaware. The mandate's recommendations aim to change that, and we would be happy as ICRC to further collaborate on this issue. In line with our Vision 2030 on disability, we remain committed to working towards a disability-inclusive implementation of international humanitarian law in complementarity with the CRPD. And at the International Conference of the Red Cross and Red Crescent in October, we aim to bring together states, the Red Cross, Red Crescent movement, with the mandate, OPDs, and other experts on IHL and persons with disabilities to raise further awareness and encourage follow-up pledges. Thank you very much.
Very much. Now, I have also Mina Mushtahed. Mina, she's the Executive Office of the UNSG. Mina, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair. Firstly, I would like to say that the Special Rapporteur's institutional review of the UN system's approach to mainstreaming disability in 2018 was a crucial catalyst that paved the way for the creation of the UN Disability Inclusion Strategy. The strategy has been a game changer. As a result, we've seen significant shift and increased awareness on rights and inclusion of persons with disabilities from headquarters to the field in both UN entities and UN country teams. And now we're seeing more and more structural changes addressed in the system, which will lead to transformative results in inclusion of persons with disabilities in the organization. However, as many of the speakers have noted, we still have a long ways to go before disability inclusion is a norm and mainstreamed in every area, including UN programming and projects. This is where the Special Rapporteur's thematic studies are invaluable. The thematic reports provide vital information, guidance, recommendations for disability perspectives in global agendas. For example, the thematic reports on women with disabilities, social protection, artificial intelligence, peace and security, and many other issues all inform our work in integrating rights of persons with disabilities in sustainable development and global initiatives. The Disability Inclusion Team at the UN Executive Office of the Secretary General welcomes the thematic priorities outlined by the current Special Rapporteur in order to accelerate disability inclusive implementation of the 2030 Sustainable Development Agenda. And we look forward to working with the Special Rapporteur in continuing to advance disability inclusion throughout the UN system. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mina. And now I give the floor to Dr. Manjanoor from UN Women. Dr. Manjanoor, go ahead. The floor is yours.
Online. Thank you very much, moderator. Mr. Nawaf Kabera, and I wish to take the opportunity to also congratulate you for your new role as the president of the IDA, and we look forward to collaborating with you on that role as well. UN Women congratulates Ms. Eva Hagras and her predecessor, Mr. Gerard Quinn and Ms. Catalina de Vandas. We had a really privileged opportunity to collaborate with you, all of them in their mandate. And we're very proud with the achievement that each of you demonstrated today. We are currently from New York when we are meeting women's group as part of the 68th session of the Commission of the Status of Women. We see the challenges for particularly disability and gender issues, and we really look forward to working with you all. The voices of persons with disabilities, including women and girls with disabilities, are essential to addressing the intersection of gender, age, and disability. And we are very pleased with the achievement of all of the Special Rapporteur, particularly Heba, when you came to New York and we had meeting with our Undersecretary General Sima Bahous. We are committed to support this and beyond, particularly how can you really take this to the country levels. I'm very pleased to also share with you that in 2020, at the outset of the COVID, and Mr. Nawaf, you have mentioned the challenges for UN system. Only 15 UN Women offices were working at that time. Now in 2024, we have 65 UN Women offices are reporting their work on disability inclusion and gender, the intersectional area. And we would like to continue to support this mandate so that together we can progress and make a lot more inclusion in all our development cooperation. Thank you very much, and you can rest assured that at the level of headquarters, at the level of regional offices and country offices, wherever UN Women is present, your mandate will have our full support. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And also, I would like to give the floor now to the representative of UNICEF. The floor is yours.
Thank you. UNICEF is proud to co-sponsor this important discussion with the Office of the Special Rapporteur and partners, which recognizes the accomplishments of the mandate over the last decade and looks forward to 2030 and beyond to further advance the participation of persons with disabilities as equal members of society. Since the Human Rights Council first established the mandate on the rights of persons with disabilities in 2014, the work of the Special Rapporteur has resonated at a global, regional, and national level, along with reports and guidance on key issues that the mandate has provided for the implementation of the CRPD. The launch of the UN Disability Inclusion Strategy in 2019 is of particular importance as it is creating transformative change across the UN system in both programs and operations. Building the UNDIS, UNICEF launched its first disability inclusion policy and strategy in 2023, committing the organization to a cross-sectoral agenda and accelerating disability inclusion across programs and operations, both in development and humanitarian contexts. UNICEF also recognizes the work of the Special Rapporteur in elevating the visibility and inclusion of persons with disability during armed conflict and in conflict prevention and resolution. Advancing the rights of children with disabilities is core to UNICEF's mandate, and we have worked closely with the mandate since its establishment. UNICEF supports the priorities identified by the Special Rapporteur for her term, and we look forward to working together to further advance the rights of persons with disabilities in the future, including children and youth and their families. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, time is running out. We have only 5 minutes, but for my support of women with disabilities, my friend from Thailand, please, but it's half a minute.
Okay. I love to celebrate 10 years of mandates of the Special Rapporteurs by sharing a core outcomes of the first Asia Pacific Women with Disability Congress, supported by DIF, UN Women Minority Rights International. At the event, 187 women with cross disability from 33 countries gathering in Bangkok in December. So we agreed to establish Asia Pacific Network of Women with Disability and suggest UNDESA to adopt the theme on the International Day of Persons with Disability on Women with Disability, and also suggest Special Rapporteur on Disability pay attention to domestic violence, sexual abuse, and harassment, in particular to intellectual, psychosocial disability, Down syndromes, autistic, indigenous, migrant, and refugee, women with disability, specific attention to those living in remote and armed conflict area, and urge the state party to seriously establish national measures to ensure access to justice. Thank you very much.
You in Thailand on this. Yes, Hiba. Now I know that Catalina has to leave very soon, so I have to give her the floor to give her comment at the end.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the reflection. I think that it's a moment of pause in which we have to acknowledge the value of the special procedures mandates and how they give us an opportunity and a voice to the disability community to advance change and collaboration with many partners. I think that Heva said something that for me is very important. Her motto of connect and connect. It is true that the disability community has many challenges, as we are all facing these enormous global challenges from migration, humanitarian crisis, climate change, et cetera, et cetera. And none of those that have a tremendous impact on persons with disabilities, a disproportionate impact on persons with disabilities, none of those will be solved if we don't work in solidarity, if we don't work together, if we don't connect, if we don't understand that all the human rights system, all the multilateral system needs to invest efforts to make the transformation that we need in the communities, to transform not only the frameworks that we have in the international or in the multilateral spheres, but to make sure that those are impacting and changing the lives of persons with disabilities on the ground, and hopefully of everybody. So we really need to have more strategic support, and I'm very pleased to have the states that we have with us here today. We need to see your support for the UNDIS disability inclusion strategy, to see that secretariat growing stronger, to hopefully transform into something like the UN Youth Office with a higher level of hierarchy that could then have more a stronger voice for the system. But we also need to commit to think about the across pillars and the peace and security, as Gerard mentioned, and others, and development, and all across the work that we do. The mandates are a wonderful opportunity. I had the enormous honor of leading the coordination committee of the mandate holders, which also gave us an opportunity to bring the voice of persons with disabilities, not only to claim for our rights, but also to contribute to change. I think that the world is missing if we don't include persons with disabilities in our contributions to solve the greatest challenges of our world. Thank you.
Something to say?
Very brief. Thank you very much to everybody for their kind reflections and thoughts, but particularly to the representative of the ICRC. We truly treasured working with you, and I think it's an example of the ripple effect that the mandate can have across the system, across the UN system, for benefit for everybody. One of our main theses was the invisibility of people with disabilities in international humanitarian law. And I'm shocked to have to tell you that I'm increasingly shocked at the absence of people with disabilities in the draft UN Treaty on Crimes Against Humanity. Anybody with any historical sense would understand that the original extermination program was the T4 extermination program. So that invisibility cannot be allowed to stand. So I'll leave you with that plea. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Hope I work with you on this because it's very important. Hiba, your last remark.
My last comment is that I would like all of you to join us and give us your ideas about how do you want to see the future. Your voices matter, and please connect with our office and our mandate so that we really have your views included in the future and in whatever we are doing and preparing for. Thank you.
Very much. Please let us support the new special rapporteur and at least give her fund so she can go to Thailand to visit the conference. And I'm sorry I could not give you more time for the floor because time is running out. I would like to say in the end, before I give the floor to Her Excellency Ambassador Duncan, that I started my life in a fight against the war and violence in 1986, where we organized a march against the war at that time. And I would like to, as president of IDA, also to work against the increasing madness in this world today, where it's going more conflict and more confrontation. I hope we can all join hands and ask for more peace, more cooperation, and more human rights. Ambassador Duncan, the floor is yours.
And I will start with thanks, firstly to Special Rapporteur Heba Hagas for promoting the organization of this event, and to you, Nawaf Kabara, for your excellent facilitation of it. I've really listened with a great deal of concentration to all the inputs from the members of the panel, as well as online and from the floor. Well, you all know that New Zealand strongly supports this work and the mandate of the Special Rapporteur to strengthen system-wide accessibility, inclusion, and mainstreaming of the rights of persons with disabilities. And today has been an opportunity for us not only to reflect, but really celebrate the transformation underway, not yet completed. The transformation that Catalina led with her role as the first Special Rapporteur, and that Gerard has continued with his role as the second Rapporteur. We feel really confident, Heba, that you are going to continue with the vision, the strategy, the tactical nous that your two predecessors have, because clearly the work is not yet done. I'm really struck, Heba, by your rallying call, connecting to push forward. And I think, Facundo, you made an excellent set of comments when you said it really requires us all to work together. And Catalina has just underlined that. So the UN system, member states, the mandate holders, the civil society organizations, the international, the ISOs, including ICRC, for example, we all need to work together to push forward. I think that pushing forward, what I've heard from the floor too, is that not only is there high relevance to the community of persons with disabilities in the global challenges which face humanity today, but also there's a need to consolidate the role of persons with disabilities in shaping that agenda, but also moving to the field. I heard very clearly the sense of not us not staying at the international level, but actually taking the transformation into the field. And Catalina also had some very important comments in that regard. You also know that New Zealand, together with our great friends Mexico, are leading the resolution in this session of the Human Rights Council with a focus on support systems that ensure community inclusion of persons with disabilities. So we hope that all the informals, all the engagements around that resolution will be part of the conversation about what comes next, the future progress we're committed to and that we need, while reflecting on and celebrating, as we have today, the legacy that is already in place in the first 10 years of your mandate, so that nothing about us without us becomes something that is mainstreamed and really fulfills the rights of persons with disabilities. Thank you so much for inviting me to be part of this panel.
Thank you, Madam Ambassador. Thank you for you all for this very interesting seminar. And we end the work now. Thank you.